Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to go over Legend Keeper. Now, it's what I've been kind of using for my Daggerheart campaign called Everdawn. A little background on Everdawn. I made a board. I started writing this a long time ago, and it is a realm that recovered after centuries of darkness. So kind of like Age of Umbra was back then, and this is about 500 years after that would be considered the Age of Umbra, but it wasn't Age of Umbra because I wrote that long before I ever heard of Age of Umbra. So very similar in respects. Um, and then there was something called the First Dawn. And so I'm making a very rich, original setting for my Daggerheart campaign, and I'm taking input from my players and everything else. I saw on Reddit somebody posted, I just got Legend Keeper, and I don't know where to start. So I'm going to go through what I have. So you can see my screen right here. And this is kind of like the home page that they land on. Now over, you see Everdawn, and there's another picture of it. Over here on the right, we can see the sidebar. We can play the little intro. That's an intro I made for it. With some of my artwork and everything. Not everything on here is my artwork. Some of it's supplied by my players, and some of it I do myself. But okay, so here we are on the home page. I have links to Demiplane, Roll20, to the Daggerheart website, to Discord, to Fantasy Plus, Daggerheart Brews, and Fresh Cut Grass. I always trip my words up saying that. So those are all tools that I'm then utilizing in addition to Legend Keeper. And if you're already here on Legend Keeper, you already know the link to it. And I keep everything easy to find. If my players say, oh, where is this? How do I get to Legend Keeper again? I just tell them to go to my website, thomaspeterson.com, and they can scroll down and they can find it. So right off the bat, those are the links that they need. We go to the history. So it doesn't have a timeline yet. It's funny because I was looking for something that had a timeline and this didn't have it. So I kind of made my own, but they are coming out with it. And I like the aesthetic so much and the functionality and the ease of use that I ended up signing up for Legend Keeper. So kudos. You didn't have what I was looking for, but you sold me anyway. So here's like a little timeline. Here's just a brief explanation of magic. I get into class magic a little bit later. These are all hidden. So this is my link to Musico and other things that I need, that I use. This is a guide, Welcome to Legend Keeper, so I can easily find if I have questions or how do I do this or do that, which I really hadn't had very many questions. So that's it. So on the right-hand side, you can see everything that I've made. Map of Everdawn. Now this is hidden from my players. These are the adventures that I'm writing for them. Game sessions. This is notes for game sessions. Player characters. Here's where they can put down notes about their own characters or anything else. The Diaries of Black Sword. That's something a little bit interesting. I made that because they found a bunch of books and they're doing research. So it is something that they're working on downtime. It's a downtime project for them in Daggerheart. And every time they make a successful roll, I give them another page of a diary, or they learn a little bit more about the history and everything else, which is kind of cool. This is where I'm keeping my NPCs. Artifacts and magical items is next. The magic of Everdawn. So now this is where I go into specific kinds of magic. I don't have everything written up, but I have some cool things written up in there. Ancestries is where we're going to have homebrew ancestries, which some people have already made. Organizations and factions of Everdawn, adventuring parties. I made rules because adventuring parties, I wrote up, there's a reason why adventuring parties exist. And there's like an organization that kind of oversees it and also deals out adventures for them to go out and do adventures and stuff. So it's a reason for them to stick around as a party, which is pretty cool. At least I think so. The Pantheon of the Hollows Above, the Economy of Everdawn, Everdawn Beast Book. That's where all my custom monsters and beasts that I make are in there. Calendar events I haven't started using yet. And then there's something for tutorials. This is an untitled page you haven't used yet, and templates. So let's go right into the map of Everdawn. Okay, so let me just scroll out a little bit here, and I can drag it around. Here's Everdawn. The map, I made the map myself in Incarnate, I think. Incarnate, yeah. And it's very sparsely populated because we're kind of building it as we go along, as we're playing the game, which is cool. But this allows us to do some cool things. So you can see the number 2s here. That means there are 2 things down in there. If I scroll in, here they are. So here's the town of River Rush and the Rushvale Forest. I could click on the Rushvale Forest, and you can see my descriptions and everything about that. Some notable villages in there. Here's River Rush. Description and the origin of River Rush, which I wrote up a nice detailed origin on that, and how the 2 cities kind of became one on either side of River Rush. It's a very dangerous river. The map of it. So here's a map of River Rush, once again, one I made, and I can just easily go to the map. And here's the map, and we can see the things that we came up with here: the Tilted Mug, River Rush Docks, Unity Bridge, the Endless Teat. So very cool things that you can do in here. Over here, there's Castle Blacksword. That was their first adventure, or second adventure, ended up there. We'll go back to the map of Everdawn. I'm working right now for the next adventure. Here's the Violent Sea, but Sea Shard is the next place I'm working on. I haven't done a map of the city yet, but it's pretty cool. You know, I got a description. I got the name of the governor of Sea Shard, and how it's like a port, but it's also a smuggling port and things like that. Very cool. So the map functionality works absolutely perfect. If I want to add a new pin, I just right-click, new pin, and then I can fill in the details. And that's kind of what I've been doing. One of the player characters came out with Mount Obsidian. And there's a city in there called Undermount. And here is Undermount. Description of Undermount. I don't have a map for it yet. But that's pretty cool because that plays into his backstory there. So that's very cool. I'm going to collapse the map over here on the side. Game session. So I use this. I got to create links on there for the game session. So here's session 1. Just some very quick notes on what they did. After the adventure is over, I transfer all my scripts that I wrote. So, like, here was their introduction. It's a cool, crisp fall day in River Rush. The leaves have begun their slow descent from the canopy above, painting the winding roads and muddy banks of Whitecap River in a burnt orange and amber. Smoke curls lazily from stone chimneys, and the scent of fresh-baked bread and wood smoke drifts through the narrow streets. The town hums with anticipation. There's an air of celebration, of stories waiting to be told. And it goes on and on. You kind of get the idea. So I write these up to kind of like set the scene for my players. Here's all the NPCs that they met. Maps. So anytime I include a map in Roll20 or whatever, after it's done, I will put it here so they can kind of remember it. The magic items they found a legendary item, their first adventure, which it's kind of a cool thing I think I did. The images that I used, there we go. There are the images that I used in the adventure. And then session 2 was a fight in the crypt. You know, there's the map again because they were still in there. No magic items. And these are the images that have been used. So that's my game session. So they can always refer back to the notes. Player characters. Okay, so here it's kind of cool because they're all nested under player characters, but I have links right here. So like if we go to Matt Mirth, okay, I click on it, it goes directly to his page. So he's obviously a turtle guy, playing a turtle guy. Galapa. He is a guardian, a vengeance guardian. So he's built to be kind of tanky. So he filled a lot of this out himself, his little backstory. We don't have any character notes in there yet. But here's a link to his character sheet in Demiplane. So if I click on this, it'll open up his character sheet in Demiplane. Very, very cool. His vibe, you can put like little YouTube videos or Spotify playlists on this. So if I click on his vibe, it might be loud. So he came up with that song, whatever. Put it in there. It's still extremely cool because you can do so many things and add different blocks to the sidebar here. So that's the player characters. Very cool. NPCs. I don't have very many in here. One's hidden because he's like the big bad. But here's one that ties into Mirth's backstory, which is Maelric Vern. He is the leader of the Firestorm Raiders in the city underneath the volcano and stuff like that. So he's got a little backstory. I don't have a character sheet out for him yet. Let's see. I don't have any adventure ideas in there. Sometimes I put adventure ideas when I come up with them. So there's that. Artifacts. And so they found, this is the sword that they found, Umbros. This is hidden from them. This is every time they level up, it unlocks new abilities within the sword. So I have notes there for that. Now here's the magic of Everdawn. Now one of the things that I really like in Daggerheart is, especially the wizards, is they have codexes. They don't really go into too much detail on codexes, which is, I think, is kind of cool because it allows you to kind of come up with your own. So I know some people don't like that, but I'm someone that enjoys that. So I got a thing on witches, but wizards. Okay, so the Book of Ava. Okay, so I wrote a whole thing about the Book of Ava and how there were 11 great wizards in the very beginning, the first dawn, and they were assembling magic. So the Book of Ava, that's Ava and her wife Tava. Tava was like a fighter type person. She was obviously a wizard. But that's where Tava's armor comes from. It is a protection spell named after her wife and everything. I wrote up some pretty nice things about this. Let's see. There's one thing I wanted to mention. Grimoire, the Frost of the Forest, became the most sought after of magical texts in the realm. It contains not only meticulous instructions for her spells, but also commentary, illustration, and notes in the margins, insights to her thinking, her strategies, even her humor. Ava's writings are considered essential for apprentices. Her clear explanation of magical theory makes her grimoire an ideal foundation for the understanding of the weave. So I kind of made it like, she was a really good writer, and that's why that book's available at level 1, that type of thing. Book of Iliad, who was the dream walker, so he kind of learned his spells and wrote his book from his dreams. And that's why you have the slumber spell and telepathy, because you're connecting minds, you're connecting dreams. Typhar, that's the one about fire. He was a faun who kind of made a book or whatever. This is the one I'm especially proud of, the Book of Siddle. Siddle, the 11 Great Wizards, the first dawn, none are more difficult to find or even recognize than Siddle, because he always used his illusions to appear as somebody else. But when he was himself, he was very nondescript, very, kind of plain. I made that he only spoke in like third person. Where did I write about that? So the quiet voice. Siddle rarely speaks without purpose. When they do, it is often in the third person, a quirk or perhaps a deliberate distancing from the shifting roles they play. Siddle approves. Siddle has seen this before. Siddle will take the lead. To some, it's unsettling. To others, it is oddly comforting, a sign that the real Siddle, whatever that means, is speaking. So, of course, he had, just appearance, paralela, illusions, and there are even rumors that he was a changeling. So anyway, so I've been writing up things on magic and everything else, so I kind of like that. Ancestries, don't really have anything here, but somebody came up with tree wardens, so just basically a mixture between giant and clank, but they built a tree warden. Organizations and factions, I got to put a like a glossary there. I haven't done that yet. But here are the Firestorm Raiders. Here are the Earth Song Wanderers. The Galapagos part of the Shadow Bloom Syndicate. So I made these criminal syndicates. Nobody played a rogue though. The Gloom Hands, the Hollow Lanterns, the Whispering Circle, the Eclipse Order. I haven't really filled out the rest of this, but I'm going to start writing more about the Gloom Hands and everything else. I have them in my notes on my Google Drive. Let's see. The Sunstone Shipping Company. I just wrote that tonight. When the players kind of came up with that. Here's the thing on adventuring parties. So it has structure, party registration, ranking systems, quest protocols, things like that, which is pretty cool. Pantheon. So here are my notes about us making pantheons. So here's the goddess of nature, Lyreal Thornbloom. And here is the main goddess, the goddess of light, Donara. Economy. So just to give people an idea, or players an idea of how much everything costs. Here's, like a meal is 1 to 3 handfuls of gold, room and board, minor health potions, T1 weapons, 2 to 5 bags of gold, rations, 1 handful of gold, and a horse, 3 to 5 bags. T1 armor is 1 to 2 bags of gold, and improved consumables, 5 bags or 2 chests of gold. That means, potions and things like that, powerful potions. I have something called Sunsteel weapons. They're just basically tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 weapons and how much they cost, and along with armor. I wrote up the process of, forging Sunsteel. It's kind of thematic to my world that I made. Beast Book, and here I have the Stigursa, which is my version of an owl bear because one of the rangers has an owl bear pet. So I wrote up kind of a little bit about that. I didn't want to just say owl bear. The Osfey birds, they're kind of like a mystical bird that sing, but they sing in harmony in the forest. And, there are rumors that they could bring you good luck and things like that. And that's all the pages there. So that's everything I have, and it's very easily laid out for people to find and navigate. Making a page is very easy. Over in the lower left-hand corner, hit create. Now you can just create a new page, a new map, a board timeline coming soon. Yep, looking forward to that. Can't be soon enough for me. But here are my templates for artifacts, technology, a creature, a myth, a session template, ethnicity, quest, player character, a country, a scene, an event, a location, or an organization. So those are templates. So if I want to make a player character one, I just click on this and I can retitle it to, let's see, Tommy Test. All right, there are, you can have descriptions, but you can add other things. So if I want to add an image here, I hit the slash button and then I go down to image. I can just type I and it'll bring up everything that starts with an I. It'll try and predict. And then I can add an image. So here are all the images that I've uploaded. Let's take this guy. Let's take this drawing. I did this drawing. Select, okay. And there's my drawing I did. I can do the same here. Select. Oops, there we go. Select. Now the image is up there. Now it looks cool with the banner, so I click on the 3 dots up here. I say show banner, and I can click and add an image. I'm just adding the same image over and over again. No, but it only shows its fist, so I want to reposition that. I drag it down. There we go. Oops. Save position. And there we go. And you can do backstories. I can add a different tab on here. Lots of things I can do. And if I decide I don't want it, click the 3 dots and I can delete. Done. So anyway, that's basically kind of a little tutorial on how I use Legend Keeper in my Daggerheart game. Really happy with it. I think it adds a lot, and it keeps the players vested in the world that you're creating. I think it'll be a little bit different if I was using, something that's already pre-established, like Faerun or something like that. But it's working. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Hope everybody's doing good. And I'm going to turn the video off now. Stop recording.